Here we are, November 2023. Another month has passed and a lot of content has been added into Dying Light 2 very recently. We had a major community update as well as some big celebrations for Halloween festivities in Dying Light 2. We had the Vampire Masquerade update. It was another crossover event to a popular video game series and the community loved it.
I detect sarcasm.
But more on that later. As stated, community update number 3. This update added in highly requested features from the community, such as a weapon repairman system. They added finishers and executions into the game now, and it's glorious to see. Enemies dropping their weapons, mods now having the option to be dismantled, exotic weapons are now in the game, replayable GRE anomalies are here as well, which I'm actually quite biased about because maybe like a year ago, Tech1 invited myself and a bunch of others to their studio, and in one of their workshop events, we actually came up with this idea, and it's finally here. So seeing our feedback being implemented now, that's incredible. We also had new enemy variants, including howlers now being present in the daytime. Tech1 also went ahead and added in a text chat. Yeah, I know, if you're someone who never played Dying Light 2, or maybe you played it at launch and forgot about it, this game never had a text chat.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
But don't worry, it's here now. New outfits, both paid and also free, are here too. And while Dying Light points are still indeed a problem, the newer bundles are actually launching at a solid 500 DLP, which is more digestible. Had it launched like that, it would have been less of a problem, but honestly, this is a dead horse that I keep beating, so let's just move on. They added 4 extra knives into the open world, made a bunch of quality of life improvements. I think the biggest two that I want to touch on in this video is the finishers and also the event. We will of course touch on other aspects of the update, but that is the main highlight for today's video, okay? So let's begin with finishers. And my god, these things are awesome. Such a fucking brutal way to execute your enemy. It is a truly glorious and spectacular way to kill someone. When the enemies are stunned, you can walk up and perform a finisher on them. There are a bunch of different ones added into the game, and I highly recommend giving it a go when you have the time to try it out. This was a request the community wanted ever since we discovered it as cut content in the game files. I mean, even the original Dying Light had it, and for some reason it just went away in the sequel, but it's here now and I have been enjoying my time with them. However...
Hey, stop! Why? I just don't get it. I always catch you watching this sick shit. This is sickening.
Fuck. They actually don't work, like, half the time. And honestly, it needs a bit of an overhaul, and it needs to be put into a much more polished and suitable state in order for players to enjoy it. When the update first came out, I was trying to figure out for the longest time, how do I finish someone off? I was trying to figure out for the longest time, how do I finish someone off? So it took me a bit to figure out what exactly triggers and allows you to perform a finisher. In short, you can only perform them on enemies that have a white stamina bar. You need to exhaust this bar, aka stun them, and then you will get a prompt to go ahead and finish them. This right here is not a good design choice. The finishers, they should be tied to health. If an enemy reaches a certain health number, let's say they have 1/3 of their health remaining, we should be able to execute them. And this should also apply to tougher enemies as well. Volatiles and other tanky infected are not included in finishers, which is a huge missed opportunity. I also think that when we parry successfully, either with the shield or with our weapon, we should also have the opportunity to go ahead and finish them, which apparently that's supposed to be the case, but at the current moment, it's just bugged right now. Friend of the channel Netro also recommended that when X-Ray is triggered, we should give the option to do a finisher. I completely agree. He also stated that when we do certain moves such as an air kick, vault kick, and a perfect dodge that causes enemies to take a breather when they run out of stamina, we should also have the option to do a finisher. Netro, you're cooking here, alright? I completely agree again. In short, finishers, when they do work, they are awesome, and it's a great quality of life improvement to have in the game. For players that are a super high level, they will be missing out on finishers for the time being, simply because all of our weapons are just one hit or two hit and we cannot chip away at that stamina bar without murdering them, but I do digress. Now, before we do proceed, let's go ahead and get a quick message from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by War Thunder, one of the best vehicle combat games ever made. With over 2,000 different tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships, it makes for some really interesting and dynamic PvP battles. And you can do all of this on PC, Xbox Series X, S, PS5, and last gen 2. War Thunder has incredible graphics, everything detailed in beautiful 4K, and the sound design in here, it's one of a kind and truly impeccable. All of their vehicles are incredibly detailed, modeled down to individual components, and starting today you can play War Thunder, the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, for free on PC, PlayStation, and also Xbox. By using my link down below in the description, you'll get a large free bonus pack with multiple premium vehicles, a premium account, boosters, and much more. Thank you so much to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it now. Now, before we do discuss the events, let's tackle some additional quality of life improvements that are in Dying Light 2 right now because of community update number 3. We have a new exotic weapon rarity. These weapons are incredibly powerful and can only be earned from loot boxes, from legend level progression, bounty rewards, and also replayable GRE anomalies. The weapons are distinguished from a crimson red color and have special perks such as increased damage to heads, a chance to deal double damage, and a chance to stun enemies on attacks as well. It also has a very small drop rate too, so that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Overall, community update number 3 is actually pretty damn solid, and I'm quite impressed by it. They even gave us options to go ahead and turn off that ridiculous bloom. Thank you so much, Techland. I applaud you for all the hard work that you did with community update number 2. Now, I'm not gonna let you off that easy, because while this update is pretty damn good, we do need to discuss this event, because Jesus Christ, what were you thinking? I applaud you for the hard work, but you're not gonna get off too easy, so let's talk about this, okay? The Vampire and Halloween event. One of the events I think was abysmal, to be quite frank, and I can already hear the Reddit post being typed out about me because I'm gonna be super critical here.
Soft. Overrated. Pretty boy. A bitch.
The Vampire event is by far the worst event I have ever experienced in Dying Light 2. It was very underwhelming, unoriginal, it felt cheaply put together, and overall was quite lazy. There are some positives here, such as the boosters being a little fun to use, but also the bundle being fully obtainable for free. Good step in the right direction. I'll applaud you for that, Techland. My main gripes with this, it comes with the actual content implemented here, and overall, Techland just not fully capitalizing on their crossover opportunity here. Like, if you had the opportunity to work with a vampire IP in your popular horror zombie video game, what are you gonna do, okay? Let's say we have option A. You can add vampires into your zombie game. Seems pretty fitting, right? Or option B, make the event completely centered around the already existing bounty system, meaning that all the challenges and content for this event is just replaying boring and uninspiring busy work that we've had for over a year. If you said option A, I need to escort you to a mental hospital because you're not thinking clearly and you're not thinking like Techland right now, okay? Techland wanted to use the bounties and the challenges as the main way to progress for this event, and honestly, it was not good even in the slightest. Players like myself are still not entirely convinced about this bounty system as a whole. Bounties in general in Dying Light 2 are getting old quite quickly. It feels safe, and it's been the go-to for content for quite a bit. It's time we move on from that. I mean, you look at the global goal results, and that should be a very clear indication of what's happening. The goal was 775,000 bounties completed, and the community got around 100k less than that. It's time we move on from that. I think what Techland is misunderstanding with these crossover events is that we want them to really utilize the IP outside of bundles and outfits. When it comes to the vampire event, and even the Walking Dead and Payday 2 event, it just feels like they're phoning it in and not really giving it their all. When it comes to these major crossover events, Tech One heavily relies on the goal simply being to go ahead and collect random items scattered throughout the map, or going ahead and killing zombies. Meanwhile, you have other games out there, you have things like Final Fantasy and Fall Guys doing a crossover event where they basically implement full quests and challenges directly from that game, and then they add their own spin on it. Now, this is an example that's above and beyond, but I would love to see crossover events that utilize it to this extent. You have the opportunity to do a partnership with another game or franchise, and it's just not being taken fully advantage of here yet. Like, even going all the way back to what Dying Light 1 did in the past, in the original, they had a Rust crossover event. They had outfits inspired by Rust, bandits and enemies also scattered all over the map. They had weapons and guns, all Rust inspired. This was in addition to doing bounties, but my favorite part was when they made some additions to the open world of Dying Light with Rust. Now, if you played Rust, you know Rust is all about raiding bandits, raiding camps, and in this event, these locations would pop up in the map. You could go around and raid bandit camps. These were activities inspired by the IP, and Tech One did a little bit more to flesh out this crossover event. There were even custom sounds from Rust implemented into the event. You had an AK that sounded like it was from Rust and not Dying Light 1. It's the little things that really make these crossover events worthwhile. When it comes to Dying Light 2, it just feels like they're doing these events just to say that they did it. And I think right now the biggest problem within Dying Light 2 is these events. I think right now, moving forward, there needs to be a bigger focus on satisfying crossover events and events in general. Which leads me to the Halloween event, and oh boy. So, I actually like the Halloween update. It's actually not that bad. I think my biggest gripe with the Halloween event is that it didn't start on Halloween, but I mean, it's whatever. It is better than last year's event, and it's also miles better than the vampire event. Why it works better than vampires is that it actually makes some substantial changes to the game. You now have volatiles with pumpkins roaming around the streets. You have haunted biters lurking in the corners too. You have banshees with witch hats, and also all the infected, they drop treats now too, and you can use these treats to purchase different masks and Halloween inspired gear and weapons in a store with a new vendor. You can also reach the community goal of 400k to earn the Nightmare Claw weapon and blueprint, aka the Freddy Krueger claws. And just from me describing this, it's already more entertaining than anything that occurred in the vampire event. Techland, we want to see inspiring events. This Halloween one, it was good. It's pretty okay, but for crossovers, we need to see something more ambitious than what's currently being delivered. And that, my friends, is everything I have to say about this update. I thoroughly enjoyed community update number 3. I want to make that explicitly clear. I think the crossover events, they need a little bit of work to get them up to par and up to expectations. But that, my friends, is it, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Once again, thank you so much to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. You can go ahead and download it for free on PC, PlayStation, and also Xbox. You can use my link down below, and if you do so, you'll get a free bonus pack of premium content such as vehicles and account boosters and tons of more goodies. Thank you again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.